Comments deserve a lecture of their own. We'll be taking a look at how to make a template for comments and how to submit a comment. I'm still working inside the single template file. At the very bottom of the loop, let's call the function comments template. This function will look for a template file called comments.php. Let's create that file now. I'm going to move the comments from the single template to the comments template. Back inside the single template, I'm going to wrap the comments template with a conditional statement. I want to check for two things. The first thing I want to check is to see if the comments are opened using the comments open function. The second thing I want to check for is if there are already comments for this post using the get comments number function. If there are already comments, then we want to display those even if the comments section is closed. Let's go back to the comments template. I'm going to set up a conditional statement and call the function post password required. This function will check to see if this post requires a password before viewing and if the current visitor has not inputted that password. If this returns true, then we shouldn't display anything to the user. In this case, I'll just add a return statement like so. You may be wondering, will this really stop the rest of the file from returning? Wouldn't using the exit or die function be better? Well, keep in mind that we're calling this template file using the comments template function. This function includes this file, and so we can use the return statement to end this function early. You'll also notice that I'm not even using the post password required function inside the single template. In a way, it would make sense to block the rest of the post from displaying, but we don't have to do that because WordPress already does that for us. The only reason I'm using this function inside the comments template is because the comments template can be used anywhere in our theme. Comments are used everywhere in WordPress, so we want to take into account of those situations as well. Assuming everything is good so far, we can begin displaying the comments and form. I'm going to start with the form. There is a function available that will help with generating the form, which is the comment form function. This function has two parameters which are both completely optional. In the resource section of this lecture, I provide a link to this function. Let's take a look at the codex page for a second. As you can see, like most WordPress functions, this function is heavily documented. You'll see a little note that says, please note that although most parameters are marked as optional, not including them all in your code will produce errors when using define WP debug true. So if you see errors after using this function, it's perfectly fine and normal. We won't be defining all parameters. If we were to leave this function as is and view the page, then you'll notice that the form doesn't match the one in our template. This can be fixed easily. Inside the comment form function, I want you to input an array. This array can have a multitude of values and keys, but we'll only be setting a few, which are mostly aesthetics. The first key is the comment field key. This key's value will be the actual input field for the comment body. From the template, I'm going to cut and paste the HTML for the comment body into this key's value like so. Next up are the rest of the fields. The other fields are actually defined using the fields key. This key's value will be an array of all the fields available in the comments form. There are three, which are the author, email, and URL. All you really need to do is set each of these keys values to the corresponding HTML in the static template. I'm going to pause the video and do this really quick. Alright, I'm back, and as you can see, I cut it and pasted the HTML into each corresponding key. There are two things I want you to notice. The first is that for each label, I actually made that text translatable, which is completely optional, but always good practice. The second is that you should take careful notice of the name of each field. It's important that you assign each of these fields these specific names. This is because we won't be processing the comments. WordPress already takes care of processing and saving comments. WordPress expects these names for each field. We're almost done. There are 3 more keys to set, which are the class submit, label submit, and title reply keys. The class submit key's value should be the CSS classes the submit button uses in the HTML document. I'm going to simply cut and paste like so. The label submit key will be a translatable string that says submit comment. The title reply key's value will be leave a comment. That is also translatable. That should do it. Refresh the page, and you should see something similar to what I see. This may seem like a lot of work, but WordPress handles a lot for us behind the scenes. First, WordPress checks to see if the user is logged in and can submit comments. It'll also check if comments are open for submission. It'll also take care of submitting the correct post information this comment belongs to. Try submitting a comment if you'd like. Something I should also know is that the form may be different if you are not logged in. I want you to log out of WordPress and check the form. As you can see, WordPress displays these extra fields for logged out users. I'm going to log back in and then go back to the comments. If you wanted to, you could have just written this logic yourself, but that's overcomplicating things. Using this function is much simpler, cleaner, and efficient. If you wish to customize this form further, then I highly recommend you read up on the documentation to do so. Now it's time to display the comments. Inside the ordered list tag, I want you to delete all these comments except one. We will be using this single comment as a reference. Then, set up a for each loop. WordPress puts all the post comments in a handy little variable called comments. We're going to loop through each element in this array and refer to as comment. You don't have to worry about tying all this together as WordPress does it for you. I'm going to cut and paste that single comment into this loop like so. Just like the loop before, all we have to do is simply replace the static content with template tags. The first template tag for comments is the getAvatar function. This function in general gets the avatar of a user. Usually we can leave this function like so. However, we're using it inside a loop that's already inside a loop. This makes things confusing for this function, so we have to pass in the comment object itself. WordPress will be able to scan this object for the ID of the user, so it can get the correct avatar. The second parameter would be the size. For this template, the size 60 is perfect. The next function I'm going to use is called comment author. Unlike the previous function, comment-specific functions will only grab its values from the current comment in the loop. This function will output the name of the author of this comment. The next one is the comment date function, which returns a formatted date when the comment was made. Lastly, we use the function comment text to return the text made by the user. Nothing much to it, honestly. If we refresh the page, then you'll see the comment we made previously appear. The very last thing we need to do is add comments pagination. You simply call the comment pagination function right after the loop. This next step is completely optional. I don't want to display this part of the template unless there are any actual comments. So I'm going to wrap this bit of code inside a conditional statement. I'm going to use the have comments function to check to see if there are any comments. I'm also going to display the number of comments inside this h3 tag using the comments number function. That's actually it for the comments template. You may be wondering, but what about spam protection? Actually, spam protection is something we can leave to plugin developers. There are actually dozens of plugins available to block spam, and so we won't be bothering adding a built-in system ourselves. It would be a bit overkill. All comments are processed through a particular file. If we look at the WordPress installation, then you'll see the WP comments post.php file inside the root directory. This file will process all comments posted to it. That's it for now. In the next few lectures, we'll finish things up in the single template.